85% of all home fires begin in the kitchen, begin on the stove or near the stove. So these things come together as a perfect storm to create an extra hazard or a fire load this time of year.
We continue our In Focus discussion tonight on National Fire Prevention Week. This year's campaign theme is Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen. Did you know that cooking is the #1 cause of home fires and injuries? Unattended cooking is the leading cause of fires in the kitchen. Joining us tonight via Zoom is Matthew McFarland. He's a firefighter and public information officer for Unified Fire Authority. Matt, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Matt, before the break, we were talking about wildfires. So we wanted to start with your guys' recent deployment to California, where you guys battled the state's record-breaking fires. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I've been to California as a wildland firefighter many times over the last 14 years. This was a unique opportunity. I did 14 days in California, came home for 30 hours and returned and went to another 14 days. The activity on the West Coast, fire-wise, is sort of unparamount right now. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah. What we've also seen during this year's fire season is a lot of property damage and destruction. So let's talk about defensible space. What are some things that community members should do with their own homes that could really make the difference during a wildfire?
So the important thing to note is that when there's an imminent fire, it's too late to be thinking about defensible space. That's the time that you need to evacuate, and firefighters are very rarely going to have time to make improvements to your property at that point in time. They're doing what's called structured triage. They're going to look and see what's immediately defensible and what's not. So as a homeowner, it behooves you to look at your home in the off-season and pre-fire season and before there's a major incident. And look around, you have 30 feet around your house of clear space. Do you have overhanging decks? Under those decks, do you have leaves piled up? Do you have wood piled up? Are your eaves covered? That is, there's no rafters or anything showing. Do you have closed soffits? And making sure you don't have shake shingles on your roof. Things like that are a good starting point.
All right, so it really is being calm. This is the perfect time to really work on that defensible space and checking your house, especially because some of that work could take maybe a few days.
Absolutely. A lot of this will take a considerable amount of time. If you live in Unified Fire's response area, you can go to unifiedfire.org, and we will come out and assess your property for its defensible space. We'll get our wildland crew, our specialty resources out there to assess your property and help you make decisions if you're wondering if you have a good defensible space around your home.
All right. So now taking it back to residential fires, it seems like you guys as firefighters, you guys never really get a break. In the summer, you deal with the dry conditions and wildfires. Then in the winter, you deal with the uptick in residential fires. So why do you guys see more home fires during the colder time of the year?
Well, there's more people spending time inside. There's a lot of reasons for this. It's not quite cut and dry. But through the holidays, there's a lot more people cooking. You see an abundance of people in the home. People have more house parties. They have more family gatherings. They do more home cooking for large groups. And there's also more distractions that come with that. So that plays a part in the uptick in kitchen fires. Like you already heard, 85% of fires occur in the kitchen with unattended stoves. So the holidays play a big part in that. Other things that can play a part, increased use of fireplaces. Make sure if you're going to use a fireplace, and honestly, we discourage that unless it's your primary source of fireplace, your flue, all of that inspected by a reputable inspector or chimney sweep on a yearly basis.
What are some tips that you have for Utahns to prevent this season?
So prevention-wise, if you are going to use a fireplace, make sure you have the screen and appropriate coverings. Kids are never left unattended, and you don't have a fire of any kind unattended at any point in time. Same goes for the kitchen fires. Make sure you're staying. Try to use those back burners. Make sure that you know that there's nothing on the counters nearby. Sometimes we cook things that take hours, and that's understandable. Most importantly, have a fire extinguisher. Understand how to use it so that if there is something that kicks off, you can put a stop to it immediately. And in conjunction with that, you have to have detectors in every room of your house. That's critically important to alert you when there's an emergency and you don't get caught short when there's a fire and you're in another room.
Safety in the kitchen. It's about emergency preparation too. And you touched on some of that in your last answer. So what are some things that Utahns should be doing, maybe with their family members, with their children, during their downtime right now?
All right, that's great. Yeah, we talked about fire extinguishers. Make sure you have functioning smoke detectors. Also, sometimes fires happen even when you're doing everything right. Talk to your family about an evacuation plan. Talk to your children about an alternate way out of their bedroom if their exit through their door is blocked. How would they get out their window? What are the options with that? And then everybody, they get out of the house. Where are you going to meet as a family if you go out separate ways? Have that safe spot established, preferably in the front of your house. Make sure your kids know your address so that when they have to call 911, they know where they're at. All of these are really important, critical things that you can practice ahead of time with the family.
All right, Matt, we have about 30 seconds left. Anything else you'd like to mention that maybe I forgot to touch on?
Well, all of these things are totally they're risks you can mitigate. And so by thinking about this, you're taking the first step. You're thinking about the summer issues with the outside fuels, and then just thinking and being safety oriented in the home and spreading that safety oriented culture to your children is going to inherently make you at less of a risk.
All right, Matthew McFarland with Unified Fire Authority, a good friend of ours here at ABC4. Thank you for joining us here tonight.
Thanks for having me again.